On the 5th of January, 1942, exultant shouts of victory echoed through the streets of Tokyo. The Japanese Empire stood triumphant. Pearl Harbor burned. The British fleet lay at the bottom of the sea. Hong Kong had fallen. Manila was collapsing. To the world, Japan appeared unstoppable. But beneath the surface of victory, one man was deeply uneasy. His name was Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. Fade to photograph of Yamamoto aboard the battleship Yamato. On that January morning, Yamamoto instructed the staff of the Imperial Combined Fleet to begin preparations for what he called the second stage of the Pacific War. From reports arriving from the Philippines, Malaya, and the South Pacific, it seemed inevitable that Japan would soon control much of East Asia. Yet Yamamoto was not celebrating. He had studied the Western powers. He had lived among them. He knew their industrial strength, and he feared their resolve. Yamamoto vs. the War Party. Narrator. Inside Japan's Imperial General Staff, victory brought division. The military nationalists wanted to press forward relentlessly, no matter the cost, no matter how far. But Yamamoto belonged to another camp. He had opposed war with the United States from the beginning. So outspoken was his opposition that friends in Tokyo feared he would be assassinated if he remained ashore. That was why Yamamoto commanded the fleet from the battleship Yamato, far from political intrigue. His chief of staff, Admiral Matomi Ugaki, recorded Yamamoto's warning in his diary. The first month of glorious victory must be followed by far-sighted statesmanship. Yamamoto knew something others did not. Japan could not win a long war. The octopus theory. Narrator. 3 months before Pearl Harbor, Yamamoto had met an old friend, Ryoichi Sasakawa, a powerful ultra-nationalist leader. Yamamoto spoke plainly. "At first," he said, "we will have everything our own way, like an octopus spreading its tentacles." But then came the warning. The euphoria will not last. He believed Japan would dominate for only a year and a half. After that, America's power would overwhelm them. Japan needed peace, fast. Part 2. A victory that wasn't complete. Narrator. Pearl Harbor had shocked the world. But it had not destroyed America's true weapon. The aircraft carriers were not there. They were still alive and dangerous. Yamamoto knew this. The fall of Singapore, he believed, might open a door to negotiation. But when Singapore fell in February 1942, the Americans did not blink. Instead, they struck back. The Doolittle Raid. Archival footage of B-25 bombers. In April 1942, American B-25 bombers appeared over Tokyo itself. The Doolittle Raid did little physical damage, but psychologically it was devastating. Japan was no longer untouchable. For Yamamoto, the lesson was clear. The American carriers had to be destroyed. Yamamoto's answer was bold. A trap, an attack on Midway Island that would draw out the American carriers and annihilate them. The plan, codenamed MI, was approved after bitter argument in Tokyo. If it succeeded, Japan might dictate peace. If it failed, in June 1942, the Japanese fleet sailed with confidence. They believed victory was certain. What followed was catastrophe. 4 Japanese fleet carriers, the backbone of naval air power, and were destroyed. But the truth was hidden. To the Japanese army and public, Midway was reported as a victory. The illusion of strength remained. While Yamamoto focused on Midway, the Imperial General Staff advanced another plan, southward, toward New Guinea, toward the Solomon Islands, toward Australia. Their key objective, Port Moresby. But first they needed airfields. And one island barely noticed on Allied maps held the key, Guadalcanal. In May 1942, Allied reconnaissance aircraft spotted Japanese survey planes over Guadalcanal. Soon came reports of burned grass, tents, and construction. The Japanese were building an airfield. If completed, Japanese bombers could strike Australia. Time was running out. The Allied dilemma. General Douglas MacArthur demanded carriers and aircraft. But Admiral Ernest J. King, Chief of Naval Operations, had only 2 carriers available in the entire Pacific. 2. Yet something had to be done. The decision was made. America would strike first. The invasion plan was rushed. Incomplete. Dangerous. Many believed it was doomed. No reserves. Poor intelligence. Little amphibious experience. But delay meant disaster. So the order stood. The commanders. Rear Admiral Richmond Kelly Turner would lead the amphibious assault. Vice Admiral Frank Jack Fletcher would protect the landings with carriers. Major General Alexander Vandegrift would command the Marines. The target: Guadalcanal, Tulagi, Gavutu, Tanambogo. The Japans never imagined the Allies could attack. 8 months of victory had bred arrogance. Their air power was focused on New Guinea. Search planes flew only sporadically. And the slot, the perfect naval approach, was left unguarded. The invasion fleet sailed unseen. Before dawn on August 7, 1942, 75 Allied ships slipped into position. At 6:00 a.m., American carrier planes roared into the sky. The war had come to Guadalcanal. Total surprise. The Japanese were caught completely off guard. At Gavutu, American fighters destroyed every seaplane in the water. At Tulagi, bombs and shells shattered defenses. Japanese radio stations sent desperate messages. Enemy heavy bombardment in progress. Then the silence. At 9:00 a.m., Marines landed on Guadalcanal. They met no resistance. Barracks stood untouched. Breakfast lay half-eaten. Rice bowls abandoned. The enemy had fled. It seemed too easy. Across the channel, Lieutenant Colonel Merritt Edson's raiders landed on Tulagi. Here, the Japanese fought back. Dugouts, interlocking machine gun fire. Snipers in trees. The Marines advanced inch by inch. Grenades, dynamite, bayonets. No retreat, no surrender. The raiders discovered something chilling. Japanese soldiers chose death over capture. Officers shot themselves. Wounded men detonated grenades. Some pretended to surrender, then attacked. The Marines learned quickly. This was a different war. Part Ifend, Gavutu and Tanambogo. Narrator. On Gavutu and Tanambogo, the fighting was even worse. Japanese defenders attacked tanks with crowbars. They climbed onto armor. They burned crews alive. Every position had to be destroyed. When it was over, not a single Japanese defender remained alive. Part Tund, air war erupts. Narrator. By midday, Japanese bombers from Rabaul were inbound. But coast watchers saw them early. American fighters rose to meet them. The sky exploded. Sakai enters the battle. Narrator. Among the Japanese pilots was Saburo Sakai, Japan's greatest ace. He shot down American planes and was himself gravely wounded. Still, he flew his shattered Zero back to Rabaul. The air war had begun. Part 3. A false sense of security. Narrator. By nightfall, the beachhead seemed secure. Supplies piled high. The airfield, soon to be called Henderson Field, was in Allied hands. But danger lurked offshore, and the Americans did not see it. Part 14. The Slot. Narrator. The Japanese 8th Fleet was moving south. 5 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, a destroyer. Admiral Gunichi Mikawa planned a night attack. The slot lay open, unwatched, unguarded. The stage was set for one of the deadliest naval disasters in American history.